Marketplace Africa, where we cover the biggest economic trends impacting the continent. I'm Eleni Jokos, and this week we're in a place that we don't get to visit very often, Luanda, Angola. Now, oil is the lifeblood of the Angolan economy. In fact, it accounts for 90% of exports. But now the country wants to diversify. Before it can get that right, it has to overcome many hurdles. Now, according to the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business 2018 report, Angola ranks poorly at 173rd out of 190 countries. But with new leadership right at the top, the government says it wants to bring down barriers, and it's going with a tagline that we've heard before: we're open for business. This derelict building once produced laundry soap. Like many factories in Angola, it's been sitting idle for decades. But now, if this man has his way, soap will be manufactured here once again. When was the last time this soap factory was actually working?
I believe in this 80s, end of the 70s, in the 80s.
And then it stopped?
Yeah, because you need the raw material. So become everything importation.
With Angola's robust oil profits, there was no need for a manufacturing industry. It was easier to import. The 1970s and 80s were a tumultuous time for Angola. After independence from Portugal in 1975, a civil war erupted that would last 27 years. When the country transitioned from communism to a market economy in 1992, Italian investor Michael Nisser saw an opportunity. He started in commerce, but after the civil war ended, he decided to buy a Portuguese manufacturing company, Induve.
I went to Portugal to negotiate the deal to see how we can do it. Looking at the documents, I found out that me and Induve were born the same day. The connection to his birthday in 1957 sealed the deal. You know, Induve is 90,000 square meters. It's 4 kilometers from the port. You are in Luanda. 30% of inhabitants of Angola are in Luanda, so it's the place where to start. But post-war Angola was a tough business environment. But after the 2000 years, having industry, it was a lot of challenges. You know, was no infrastructure, no electricity, no water supply, no roads. I mean, everything was hard. And we have to manage it by ourselves.
The international community must understand that 40 years of management that came from the war, people come from the towns, a weak education, a weak sanitary health care, now it's difficult to upgrade. So I believe that we are still being struggled with the Dutch disease. The Dutch disease, and over-reliance on a dominant industry, in this case, oil, at the expense of other industries, leaving the country no choice but to rely on imported goods. This has made Luanda one of the most expensive cities in the world, ranking #1 on the Mercer Cost of Living survey for expats in 2017. But that's beginning to change. In just 1 year, it fell out of the top 5. And that's due in part to a regime change. For 38 years, President José dos Santos ruled the country, many years riddled with allegations of corruption. The current president and dos Santos' hand-picked successor, João Lourenço, says he wants this to change.
Angola had achieved the very highest corruption rates, not to say in the world, but in Africa. Without mentioning names, measures have been taken in order to fight corruption. And of course, on top of this, to fight monopolies as well. We do not accept any kind of monopoly, no matter what family to whom they belong. And that's why, of course, our parliament has passed a law against monopoly.
Coming to power in 2017, President Lourenço inherited a country in recession. Struggling to diversify, improving economic conditions was a major priority. He secured loans by promising reforms, $1 billion from the World Bank and $3.7 billion from the International Monetary Fund. Devaluing the currency was also an important step to close the gap between exchange rates on the black market and official markets.
That effort has been yielding very positive results as such. The spread between the official rate and the black market rate has really decreased, because when we came into power, it was at 150%, but in a period of more or less 2 years, it has decreased to 30%.
For closing Closing the currency gap meant pain for businesses.
How much of an impact did the currency devaluation actually have on your business?
Wow, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Grandes Margins has been importing and distributing in Angola for 27 years.
Yes, this push for the education is really on the last government. It's now from the new president, from Mr. Lourenço. We saw the willingness of the executive changing towards the industry protection to improve the doing business in Angola. Is when our board took the decision, okay, let's now replace trading for industrial and agro-industrial in Angola.
It's a huge pivot and a $100 million investment in this new mill, directly on the port in Luanda to quickly process imported wheat.
We also have a plastic plant that produces pipes, HDPs and PVC pipes, which for agriculture and construction, plastic and other. We have a vinegar plant. We have a packing for rice and beans. So we're already doing, and we're already building another of this mill in Benguela, in another port.
Agribusiness is Angola's hot industry at the moment, something Michael Nisser from Induve knew was coming for more than a decade, but his investment in this corn mill was a bit premature.
So from the 2005 until 2018, we worked like 30% of our capacity was only losses. And now, my factory working from beginning of 2019, even before, 24 hours. We are fully capacity.
Induve plans to expand into wheat flour, personal care products, and bringing this soap factory back online. That all depends on whether the Angolan government's plans can translate into long-term returns for investors. Coming up, breaking into the beverage industry, how one company came up with the perfect recipe.
Dangote, for an empowered Africa.
Fly Qatar Airways and experience the world like never before. Qatar Airways, going places together.
The Dangote Group stands at the forefront of African enterprise. Since 1978, we've touched the lives of millions of people by meeting their basic needs. Our belief in the promise of Africa has taken us into 14 African countries, with substantial investments that will propel the continent towards greater prosperity, promising jobs, improved standards of living, and economic growth. Dangote, for an empowered Africa.
The Profit Point, in association with Dangote.
Welcome back. If you ever get to visit Luanda, there are a few things you've got to try, like coming to the beach, and then I'm told you have to have one of these. It's blue. It's one of the most popular drinks in the country, and it's locally made by Refriango. Now, the company has 15 brands, and it ranges from water to soft drinks and even beer. Last year, it diversified further into alcohol by investing $6.2 million into a distillery. But for Chairman Carlos dos Santos, the thirst for success is not over yet.
When you are in a market like Angola, that for many years is almost like you see opportunity in everywhere you look at. And so there is a certain tendency to jump into these opportunities. My name is Carlos Santos. I am the CEO of Nuvi Group and Executive Chairman of Refriango in Angola.
You guys are one of the biggest producers of drinks on the African continent, but you've got a monster of a company, from what I'm understanding. Just take us through what you do exactly.
We are basically a consumer goods company that we focus in beverages and also hygiene and home care products. The company has developed in other areas, so today we are not only industrialists, but we are also retailers, we are also in agriculture, so there are many areas in our group. Blue Passion Fruit is one of the brands that was at the core of our success. So.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really
Happy
good.
that you like it.
How many times did you fail before you actually came out with the passion fruit flavor?
Probably in the process of developing the current formula, 5 or 6 fine-tunings.
So what was the one product that turned things around for you?
I think all the exotic flavors that we started, like passion fruit, coconut, all of that have been very, at the core of the innovation that Blue brought into the market. The brands were developed for the consumer, really tailor-made for the Angolan consumer, and I think this was a big part of our success.
Why did you decide to get into beer 4 years ago in already, quite saturated markets?
We wanted to invest more and we wanted to continue growing, and so beer was an obvious decision for us.
What's your big money maker?
And actually, it's pretty much balanced between 4 or 5 brands that we have. I can tell you that beer is already our #2 brand.
So how much are you producing at the moment?
In terms of beverages, we produce a little bit below 500 million liters per year.
But you've got capacity to do 2 billion liters.
Very
so
true.
why aren't you doing the entire capacity?
When we started building our factories, you always think of the future.
Yeah.
In this type of modern facilities, it's better to have more capacity than to add capacity.
So what's your revenue like at the moment?
Overall, as a group, we are a little bit shy of $800 million.
Where do you guys see Refriango in a few years' time?
The first step of our vision is really to be #1 in Angola. And then, of course, we have an aspiration to go to other countries. It's important to get into the markets by exporting, then get to know, but of course the aspiration is always to build a plant and to produce locally.
Well, thanks so much for joining us for this edition of Marketplace Africa. Take a look at our website or keep up with us on social media. From me, Eleni Jokos, here in Luanda, Angola. I'll see you next time in the Marketplace.